All right, everyone, welcome back to the world of cinematics. We are very excited for this month. Last month we covered the topic of Lord of the Rings, a topic that has long been near and dear to our hearts. This month we're looking forward. In the month of love, we are going for the most romantic topic possible. A rich billionaire who dresses up in black and beats the snot out of criminals. I mean, doesn't that just get your blood flowing in only one way? But yes, it gets the blood flowing, and I am very excited. We're all very excited for the upcoming Matt Reeves' The Batman. So we decided we're going to spend the month of February counting down week by week, talking about our favorite iterations of Batman until we are ready for the ultimate day when we sit down in a crowded, smelly road theater and witness this epic, glorious vision for ourselves. But in the meantime, we are starting out with the movies that started it all. If you're counting the one where he danced, we are talking about Batman. We're talking about Batman Returns. We're talking about Batman Forever. And we got to talk about Batman and Robin. But we're going to save that one for the last because I really don't want to know about it.
This is obviously
Yes, we'll save the best for last.
I don't know if we had a way that we wanted to do this, but I'd like to start with Batman.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So, 1989, Tim Burton, Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson, Bat. I recently watched this back in November. This was my birthday. And I decided to watch all the starting Batman films. Because you got your Batman Begins, you got Batman vs. Batman.
Hey, Stefan.
And it shocked me. I thought
Your sound you guys keep echoing back and like you're really quiet. Is there a way you can get closer to a mic? Do some ASMR?
Here, 1 second. We'll try switching mics. 1 second. You want to unmute that while I mute this?
Alright.
3, 2.
You hear us better?
Okay, I can hear you. Brendan's.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, you guys sound a lot better. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, had to interrupt. Go ahead, Stefan.
That's alright. So, point being, I thought I would, that Batman Begins would be my favorite of the three start of, those three different actors playing Batman. Surprisingly, no. It was Batman, the 1989 one with Jack Nicholson and Michael Keaton. The reason for this is that it really balances out the hero and the villain much better than Batman Begins did. It had good Batman moments for sure. They kind of happened halfway through the film when we actually got Batman. Whereas Batman, boom, it just gets right into it with Batman at the very beginning, and it introduces and slowly builds up the Joker. And when he shows up, oh, it's great. It's good stuff. Just all the build up to that. And instead of the film being Joker heavy or Batman heavy, it really balances them out. And I forgot how well balanced this one was. You know, the moments where Batman shows up, it's like, oh, this is really cool. And the moments when the Joker shows up are equally cool. Just finding that sort of balance is something they used to do all the time with superhero films, whereas nowadays I feel a lot of them, especially on the Marvel side, are very hero-centric. They overbalance the villain, because we know he's going to probably die, the villain at least, by the end of the film. So we're really rooting for the hero and the villain. He's kind of a nasty guy who's there for a movie, and then he's gone. But in the first Batman film, the first Spider-Man film, and even the second Spider-Man film, they really balance out well. That way you can root for the hero, but also have a lot of fun with the villain. And that balance is something I really enjoy, and I really miss from superhero films, generally speaking. Sometimes we'll get a good villain out of the blue, but a lot of the time the villains are expendable, and they just die or they're lost. And the Joker does die in this, but he's so well balanced with Batman in this film. Like, the film is made or broken by whether or not Batman and the Joker work. And Batman shouldn't have worked because it was Michael Keaton. Always like 5'7", doesn't look anything like a Bruce Wayne or whatever.
He was a comedic actor.
Right, he was Mr. Mom, that or Beetlejuice. And people are like, man, Tim Burton's just using this guy because he likes it. But then as time went on, it was like, no, this guy's he plays a unique take on Batman, not just physically, just the idea that he's somebody. I came to the conclusion that Christian Bale, he needs to be Batman because the city needs him. Batfleck wants to be. No, how do I put it?
Feels compelled.
He's
He has
compelled
this
to be
obsession.
Batman. He has the obsession, whereas Keaton, he wants to be Batman. He doesn't want to retire. He doesn't want the girl, per se, because he always has a different girl in movies. He wants to be Batman. This is something, he likes it. He takes pleasure out.
It's established in the very first scene where he pulls that criminal up to his face, he smiles and says, "I'm Batman." I'm this guy. I mean, first off, how many Batmans can actually smile in the suit and still be scary?
Right.
This guy.
Number one.
It works. He has a few screws loose. I mean, this is the sort of guy who you say, yeah, I totally believe that he would dress up like a bat and beat people up. He's like totally smart, totally confident. But dude's also a weirdo.
Yeah. Tim Burton really uses his own weirdness and said with Keaton, hey, you're that weirdo, that recluse who is a bit odd. He doesn't know whether to put his pants in one arm at a time or whatever.
A little
Yeah,
awkward and weird on a date.
yeah,
But in a kind of vaguely charming way.
yeah. He's a goofy guy as Bruce Wayne, and he seems like you said, some screws are off a bit there.
Yeah.
And he's obviously got some issues. But when he puts on that suit, like the clumsiness or the idiosyncrasies or whatever, they're totally gone. As soon as he's Batman, he is who he wants to. It's not. It is an obsession. It's not this obsession in the same way as Affleck. I felt like of the three, Affleck is probably the best portrayal, like straight out of the comic books. But that's a totally different discussion.
Yes, we'll talk about that.
But Keaton,
Yeah, Keaton
Nicholson.
does. Keaton. That one scene I remember watching as a kid where he's in Vicky Vale's apartment and Joker comes in and crashes their little get together, and he grabs this
Fire poker.
fire poker thing. He just starts whacking things and says, "You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts."
it's like this guy's just as crazy.
As a kid, I was like, "What the heck? Why is Batman, crazy? This is weird." Like, this is not because I think I had seen Christian Bale's Batman before that, so I was like, "What the heck? This is weird." But looking at it, I've come to realize that Batman is not all mentally there, and that's how Tim Burton chose to show that by showing that he's just kind of crazy, or maybe Bruce Wayne was just being a freak for no reason. I don't know, but I took it as he's not all there.
And I think it's a bit of both. I mean,
Yeah.
Burton, I think, was such a great pick for this first Batman movie because he was kind of established in Hollywood, but he certainly hadn't earned the cachet that his career later built up, where he could go full Burton. And what he does, it just naturally seeps through. He has a little bit of that weirdness, a little bit of that love for darkness, for loners, for the abandoned dregs of society. Watch Joker and his goons and Batman. They're weird. The movie loves how weird they are. It doesn't go over the top with some of the weirdness that we'll talk about later with Batman Returns. But they are weird. They love it. And so, Burton kind of holding back his tendencies, I think, was a great pick for this.
Definitely. And I think it's great to have it as proof that Batman does kill. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of scenes where some of the guys are maimed, injured, but then he blows up the Axis chemicals, which definitely had about maybe 30 guys in there.
Dozens of guys.
So
Maybe
A night-
one or
a
two
night
survive.
crew.
maybe one or two survive, not likely, but it's possible.
Generally, I prefer an iteration of Batman that doesn't kill, but you have to tailor it to the story. And when you look at this Batman, should he kill? Then probably not. Would he?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I mean, it depends on what comic you look at, because when he first started, he did kill. He
He isn't
did
the guy
very
that
good.
killed his parents.
Exactly. So it just depends on how you want to interpret it, like Jed was saying. And I think just fitting it to Tim Burton's vision of the character, it made a lot of sense. And Michael Keaton with that creepy grin, you know, as he kills people, especially in the next one, it just fits really well.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic because they may or may not be getting rid of Batfleck, you know, just rumors. But, and the biggest reason why people didn't like Batman vs. Superman is because Batman would kill. And if they're going to kind of replace him with Michael Keaton, it's just like,
I don't know if it's one of the
Come
biggest
on.
reasons, but you know, from when we saw him kill in that trailer, there was just this hardcore contingency. No, Batman doesn't kill. And then when they saw the movie, many of them were unconvinced. No, Batman doesn't kill. It's getting replaced. We'll see.
yeah, we'll
He's
see.
in.
We'll see.
We'll
Which
see
is
all of a sudden,
I blame the Nolan movies for that.
and all of a sudden these people, yeah, finally, we love this Batman.
It's like,
Batman
hold on.
too.
He kills people all the time.
Speaking of controversies, the film, it made a whale ton of money. It
Yes,
made
it
a buco's amount of money. People were stealing posters. It still had two controversial moments I can remember.
Yes.
Because people got over Keaton. That was no longer a controversy. It was first that Joker killed the Waynes, his parents. That was a big controversy. That was never
And
established.
never been the case in the comics.
Right, and it was something that I think Sam Hamm, the writer, he was like, I don't know about that, but they went with it anyway. To me, I'm like, it's not the end. I mean, maybe
This is
that.
not the comics. This is something different.
Right. And back then, it was all that people had, though. We didn't know that we'd get another version of Batman ever again, so they were, you know, understandably upset by that. But they got over it, I think. The other controversy was Alfred bringing Vicky Vale to the Bat Cave, which is like, Alfred, you're supposed to be his wingman. Why are you doing this? So, but I think people got over that. They have to throw away line. It's did in the next film. But those were the two controversies, I think.
Yeah, I think there was a third one regarding Joker again. That would be his name. You know, and
Not just his name, and like everything about him.
yeah, exactly.
He's a person.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, they have this folder there. We know he's been kind of psychopath, especially in school. He's chemist, all these things, and we also get to see his transformation, which sometimes they hint more at in the comics. You don't really see too much until Alan Ward developed that more. But yeah, I think that's the third biggest controversy. And that's one of those ones where you're like, well, does it ruin it as the character? And it's like, no.
Right. Like,
It's very much the Joker.
you know, I'm much more lenient when it comes to changes from the source material when it comes to comic books than I would be, say, like Lord of the Rings or something. Because Lord of the Rings, it's those 3 books. You read those 3 books, and that's all there is. Now, there are other side material stuff, but as far as main story, that's it. Batman has been so many things over the decades. You can do whatever you want, and with a big movie, this is you with a big budget being given the freedom to do whatever you want. As long as Batman is still Batman, the Joker is still the Joker. Like, is he a clown? Yes. Is he evil? Yes. That's about it. He's funny. He's the clown prince of crime, the jester of genocide, all these things. And so, generally, do I prefer the Joker to be a mystery? Yes. Does it work for this movie to learn his backstory? Yeah.
It definitely does. And as far as controversies, let's flip it on the other side. What was the greater strengths? Something that was pointed out was that this is the first time that Batman has body armor. That was not something that was established.
Just Maverick comics before that.
Exactly.
It's also the first grappling gun.
And first grappling gun. So there's these things that Tim Burton's vision has really pushed the story limits and has allowed future iterations that we can cooler and better.
First all black Batsuit.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah, it laid the foundation for all the Batman to follow. Which of them doesn't have a Batmobile that's nearly indestructible? Which of them doesn't have a grappling gun? Which of them doesn't have black in the suit? You know, all those things come together because this laid a foundation that, you know, Nolan borrowed from. Obviously, Zack Snyder and Matt Reeves have borrowed some things. And I agree with Jed when it comes to comic books, and I've slowly come to this conclusion. I was less giving previous years, but what I've decided, you know what? If I don't care what the Batmobile looks like, as long as it's black and nearly indestructible, and that's all we really know. I was wondering if Robert had any thoughts about Batman, or if you've seen it at all.
It's been so long. Literally, the only things I remember is the creepiness of Danny DeVito
Oh, and
as
Batman Returns.
in Batman Returns. I haven't actually. I don't recall ever actually watching Batman, 1989.
Yeah.
1989. It's
Yeah.
a great movie. I think you love it. It's in many ways very traditional story structure, but that allows them to be very weird with characters, and I think it pays off. I will say, just before we move on, I want to make note: the production design of this movie is fantastic. It looks like really claustrophobic. The whole city's towering over you. It's gothic. It's creepy. It's industrial. It's one of a kind. It feels like it's in the future, like Blade Runner, but also in the past, like it's 40s noir.
Mhm.
It's very timeless.
Yeah, that's true. And just I thought about another killing thing. Like Batman at the end of the movie, he wants to kill the killer who killed his parents. Joke. He says, "I'm going to kill you." He literally says, "I'm
Yeah.
going to kill you," and then eventually he shoots the gun at him. And I don't know if he was doing that to kill him or if it just happened to work out that way.
Oh, would you look at that? That helped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either planning to kill him or at the very least send out the
Capture.
emergency room.
Yeah. So, maybe he didn't know the statue would break. Maybe he thought he'd let go of the ladder before the statue broke, and then he fell to his death. But like, that's a big contrast compared to like Nolan's Batman, for example. He tried to kill his parents' killer, true, but that was before he was Batman.
Yeah.
And he repented of that. And so I kind of see that Tim Burton's Batman as being kind of the, in some ways, kind of heartless compared to Nolan and even Affleck's. Because Affleck, when he's about to kill Superman, he does feel remorse.
Yeah, he'll kill people in a fight, but Batman v Superman, at least as far as we're aware, is the first time where he's like, I am going out with the intention to kill this man.
Yep. Like Zack Snyder said, Batfleck kills people. It was like, if they happen to be in the way of my car and they're a criminal and they're trying to stop me from doing what I need to do, so be it. I'm not gonna stop my whole
Whereas
night.
he just straight up, hey, Joker, I'm
I'm
going to kill you.
gonna kill you, and there's no
Right.
remorse there at all. So in a lot of ways, it's kind of ironic that we're getting him back into the universe, and there's nobody's really batting an eye.
But we
So
have to
that's kind
admit,
of funny.
Michael Keaton's a more well-adjusted person than Affleck is. That's just the way things turned out for each of them. You're all given cards to deal with in life. And he's a 70-year-old man who has it together. So that makes sense that they bring it back.
Yeah,
Affleck had lots of troubles. But it is true that the great irony is
The
we're
craziest
replacing
stuff from all.
we're replacing a very decent Batman with a good Batman who's also the most deranged so far of the Batman thus far.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love Tim Burton's Batman. I'm glad he's coming back. I hope they do him justice. But it's just kind of funny.
It is
think about
funny
it.
to behold.
Yeah.
People are like, yeah, and it's like you're the same people who are against things that this Batman can do.
Yeah.
First.
Oh, I mean, restore the Snyder.
One more thing before we move on. It inspired the animated series, which we'll talk about later, but the musical thing. A lot of the Batmobile is basically a cartoon version of the Batman.
And there is an episode where you find out Joker's name in the animated series, and it's the same name, Jack Napier.
Yeah.
So
Plus,
it's based after that.
The Penguin initially looks like the Penguin from Batman Returns, which, if we're good now, we can transition.
Yeah, I was going to say, if it's alright, I would like to just kind of this
Yeah.
one. So, imagine a superhero movie that's set during Christmas, released in July. And if you didn't think that was bizarre enough, then you got to watch the movie.
I mean, Iron Man 3 was set at Christmas, released in May.
Yeah.
But it's incidentally at Christmas.
Exactly.
Batman Returns is dripping with Christmas.
Oh yes, because in Iron Man 3, he's barely in the snow. He goes back to California, and it's nice and
And
warm.
Florida, where the
And
Florida is.
That's right. And so both these two areas where there's barely any snow. And with Batman Returns, you as an audience member back in the day, you're excited. You're going to to see Michael Keaton return. You got Michelle Pfeiffer, Danny DeVito's. He's going to be the Penguin. Jack Nicholson was great as the Joker, so certainly this scary Penguin man is going to be this, intriguing character. He's going to bring this new mythology with him, which he did. But as far as an audience member goes, you either thought coming out, this is too bizarre, this isn't too dark, it isn't dark enough. Probably the most controversial superhero film that came out during that time. Not as controversial as perhaps some of the ones that have come out now, but definitely it set the scene.
Easily the most controversial Batman film, besides the Schumacher ones.
Besides
But
the
I'm
Schumacher.
talking about like good ones.
Yeah,
Right.
as far as a good one.
It was the first controversial superhero film.
Robert,
Oh, sure.
how long has it been since you have seen Batman Returns? Roughly, give or take.
See, I'm 25. I'm gonna say the last time I watched it was probably when I was like 10.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so it's been all those
Like-
years. And yet you'll remember Danny DeVito as the Penguin, don't you?
Dude, like looking at the I'm gonna pull up the picture of the cover. Looking at Danny DeVito's face, like I clearly remember him eating a fish, and it was the most disgusting thing. Like I thought Denethor eating the tomato was bad. No, nothing.
Raw fish.
Like that was disgusting, and it's just like in my nightmares, like oh no, short, fat people, be gone.
How did
But-
you guys get fat on fish?
Yeah, how? But yeah, I just like Danny DeVito did a great job because I mean I was terrified. I could definitely tell he's a bad guy.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings on Batman Returns. Like, on the one hand, I love it. But I do think that Burton was given too much control over the film. The first film was wildly successful, more than anyone could have imagined. So, hey, you did okay with that one. Burton, let's give you the freedom to do whatever you want on this one. This was before people knew what it was that Tim Burton wanted in his movies.
Yeah.
And oh boy, did they find out. I think a lot of it works. I think the let's have a riot mob of skeleton-themed clowns attacking malls. That doesn't. I don't know if that really fits with Penguin so much as that fits with Tim Burton.
Yes.
Or the Joker.
Or the Joker. In fact,
His machine gun, he had an umbrella that was a machine gun, right? Okay.
Yes. That's something that's been kind of established before.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if Tim Burton had been given full control of the first film, which he kind of did, he didn't go full Tim Burton. I wouldn't be surprised if those clowns with skeletons would have been in that film.
And would have fit Joker better, but I do love Joker's just like 40s mob style gangster buddies.
Exactly.
40s, 80s mob style.
Yeah.
So bizarre. The fedoras with the 80s. But,
I'll find a picture real quick.
yeah.
And there's Bob. Everybody loves Bob.
Yeah, why'd you kill Bob?
Come
Even,
on,
even
he's
our,
number one.
our dad watched that. It's like, why did he kill Bob? You know, everyone's like, we all know Bob. But if Return of the Jedi laid the groundwork for Star Wars to be a little more kiddie, have a little bit more suspension of disbelief stuff going on.
Like a little more. Toys were really great on Empire.
Right.
People get a few more.
Then Batman Returns laid the groundwork for the puns, some ridiculous stuff. There was healthy doses of ridiculous
Like it is based on a comic.
in Batman, where you got the buzzer that Joker fries a guy with,
Yeah.
all this stuff, and goofy little commercial, which is totally fun and fine. But then you got Batman Returns, which has penguins with rockets, and all the penguins know where to go, and then they come back on command. Like, huh? And then you got Catwoman, who's this assistant lady who gets dropped out of a building, supposedly comes back from a major brain injury, possibly,
by a horde of
and
cats.
bit on her finger. And she comes back and she's hyper flexible, martial artist that can compete with Batman, and has
seamstress.
master seamstress, and not to mention she has 9 lines.
Literally.
Well, that's even more than 9, I think, right?
No,
Spoilers.
it because Penguin gets her, Batman gets her,
Yeah.
and then what's his name shoots her.
Thanks, Shrek.
She had 2 lives when she kissed him. See, I can't do that. She had 2 lives left when she kisses him with the taser.
Okay.
So she has had 1
She
right
had one
after
left.
that.
Okay.
But it's like,
normal life for her.
yeah, and it's like, wait, how do you know this? I know cats have 9 lives thing, but are you also curious? I think she says she wants to. I don't know. You know, it starts to, it lays the ground, in defense of Joel Schumacher, who we're going to be talking about next, it lays the groundwork for
Yeah.
a lot of justification for what he does. He does all of that, but on steroids.
Yes.
And that's the only difference, is we had small doses in the original film, and then it got a little bit bigger, noticeably bigger in Batman Returns, and then it got way out of proportion.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just watched it yesterday, Seth and Jen and I. And something I did notice as I'm watching is like, okay, if we had small doses of this or that, it wouldn't be as controversial. But trying to figure out what this and that is exactly is the hardest thing, you know. Because some people, like myself, I actually like all the Catwoman stuff with her coming back from the dead. You know, it's kind of super eerie and all that stuff.
I love all that stuff.
Super
I wouldn't
eerie.
say it's bad.
No,
It just doesn't fit with some of the other things.
Exactly. And then
it comes out
Penguin, you know, living with a bunch of penguins. Okay, fine,
of
whatever. But then he also is a part of a circus, and he's still wearing the baby onesie that he was found in.
How did it
How
stretch?
did it stretch? You know, it's
Those rich people
It's
are
made of the same
really.
stuff as old snacks.
Oh,
yeah. You remember
if only
how
they're
he
as
was wearing
clean
the
as the,
onesie?
as the
It's
old
supposed to be
pants.
his baby onesie.
No, it is.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
That's. Well, then he becomes mayor. Doesn't he try to become mayor?
yeah.
Right? Some guy's nose
See,
off.
that's a whole
Yeah.
other subplot that's being on top of
And also, Max Shrek wants to steal the city's power. For
Yeah,
some reason.
how's he gonna do that?
It's a very messy movie. I'll say, you know, in addition to it being, you know, in the eyes of the studio, at least after it released, a bit too dark for children. You know, I was talking with someone yesterday, or 2 days ago at this point, and they said that Star Wars is for children. It's for kids. It's for kids of all ages. You know, whether you're 8 years old or 8 years old, child within you will love it. Yesterday we were talking, I think this is the exact same for Batman. Batman is for children of all ages, only tangentially for certain children of certain ages. And this movie really leaned into that because, yes, it's PG-13. This is still one of the horniest, purgiest movies I have ever seen in my life.
Oh yeah.
easily.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not just Penguin, you know, all the stuff with Batman and Catwoman, you know, it's kind of pushing the edge, but oh my gosh, Penguin in this movie is such a pervert.
So
A
nasty.
hilarious pervert, a fittingly nasty pervert.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I'm still sitting there thinking,
Oh.
kids are going to watch this as he strides up to Catwoman in her tight black leather and rubber and says, just a pussy I'm gonna look at.
Yeah.
I remember that. I
Yeah.
no, I remember that.
Robert's like, "Mommy, what does that mean?" And she's like, "Oh my word, what are we watching?"
I'm over there just like, man, he ugly.
So while it wasn't overcorrection, I do understand the course correction the studio mandated that the
Yeah.
future movies.
It's exactly like Star Wars in some ways, which is why we keep making these comparisons, because it's like, you know, he's like ready to make the 3rd film. There was this alleged meeting he had with Warner Brothers where he said, "Oh yeah, you know, there's some of the things I wanted to do," and they're all sitting there like, and he's like, "You guys don't want me to make another one?" No. Well, it's like Ryan Johnson being like, "All right, so my trilogy, you know, I can't wait to get started. I have so many ideas," and they're
And then Last Jedi came out and they saw the reaction.
and they're like, and he's like, "You don't want me to make another one?" They're like, "Oh no, Ryan, you're still greenlit."
We just have other projects we want
There,
you
there
to
comes
attend.
there comes a point when you you push either the audience or the studio into a reaction that's like, we've got to get someone else, which leads to Joel Schumacher. And
Yes.
has everyone seen at least Batman and Robin or sequences.
I've seen
large
Batman and
portions
Robin.
of both Forever and Robin. I've never sat through either of them all the way.
Okay.
So because of my love of Batman 1989, I felt like duty bound. This back when I was a young teenager to watch all of them. So I can say I have watched all
Yeah, I watched.
We've watched it. Yeah.
They're all right.
of them.
Yeah. Well, specifically, Forever is all right.
Forever's all right.
Yeah.
It's all right.
It's
Get
one of
the
those.
Alfred. That was a big deal to me. I was like, oh, it's the same canon. It's the same Alfred. It's
Right.
the same- it's okay.
Right, but now it turns out it's a totally different canon to the '89 verse.
Yeah,
Because
no,
they-
it doesn't fit.
Yeah, because they even have comics for the '89 verse. And they were supposed to do comics for the Schumacher
Yeah.
verse as well. I don't know if they ever did it, but they
Right.
might have. But going into Batman Forever, that came out in 1995.
We're going to
So
there.
three years after Batman Returns. Keaton wouldn't come back because he wanted to do it without Burton. Don't blame him. Burton kind of, I don't know what part of the process he had selecting Schumacher, but he was friends, I think, with Schumacher.
Something along those
So he's like, yeah, this guy's good enough. And so we have Batman Forever with Val Kilmer as Batman. And then
Good
we have-
choice.
Yeah,
Good choice.
Actually, Kilmer was pretty decent as Bruce Wayne in Batman. It was a decent portrayal, I think, overall. But we also had Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face, and Jim Carrey as the Riddler, which is like, huh, yeah, that works.
Yeah, there's a few different ways you can do Riddler. You can do like the animated series or the Arkham games where I'm this scheming guy who wants to prove that I'm smarter than you. And look at all these hostages I've got, all these puzzles I've got. Come duel with me in a battle of wits, detective. Or you can do the crazy over-the-top zany one. And if you're going to do that, Jim Carrey is perfect for that. But
Right.
Yeah.
And he does it well. He wears the tights well. I mean, it's not his first time being green
Yeah,
and
it's
hopping around and blowing stuff up or whatever. And we had Nicole Kidman as, I think her name was Dr. Chase or something.
Yeah.
And
she's basically Black Cat, DC's Black Cat, and that she
Yeah.
is obsessed with Batman. Doesn't give a crap about Bruce Wayne, but Batman. Oh, boy,
yeah,
I mean, that's
exactly like
I know that I just said Batman Returns is super pervy. She's very interested in Batman.
like at least in Batman Returns, it's dark and it's gross feeling when it's pervy. Here, it's just uncomfortable because she's like
There's something
caressing
about
his.
anatomically correct rubber.
Yeah, she's like touching his bat nipples. 'Cause that's the film that introduced the bat nipples. FYI, it wasn't Batman and Robin. It was Batman Forever.
That's a
that's
picture I gotta grab. All right, hold up.
Her touching his bat nipples. It's just gross. It's just uncomfortable. I was even as a kid. I was like, this is uncomfortable.
Well, and it's like you said, Batman Returns introduces all these things. Because in the previous film, there's not really anything like it. There's like the moment where Vicky Vale's distracting Joker so that Batman can sneak up and punch him. But other than that, there might be a few innuendos by the Joker. But it's really, really heavy in Batman Returns. And then Batman Forever continues that onward.
It's not as evenly distributed throughout. It's basically just her. Not subtle at all.
Right.
I got the bat nipple.
Boom.
Boom. I am now sharing.
Jim Carrey being a comedian, I'm sure he does
Right.
innuendos as well. But yeah, it's
Speak-
not as heavy-handed.
Speaking of not subtle, the changes in Gotham, not subtle. So you got neon lights. You've got basically a spray paint game, like glow in the dark
Yeah,
faces,
yeah.
fighting Dick Grayson in the street. No, I forget why.
It went from Gothic New York City to just Vegas.
Yeah, is Vegas Eastern Shore Vegas, and other changes. I'm trying to think.
Giant
It's like-
statues all over the
Right.
city, which visually memorable,
Right.
interesting. It's a unique take on Gotham that I actually like. Does not fit the previous two movies.
No, it doesn't. In fact, it probably, just the aesthetic, probably would fit more of a Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
Just because of the scientific type of film. But to point out some of the positives of the film, something I did enjoy is seeing Dick Grayson's origin stories of him being an acrobat with the flying Graysons, and then his parents are brutally murdered in front of him. I think that's it's not the best interpretation, but it's still pretty good. In fact, giving Dick Grayson a motive in the film, with Two-Face being the killer, in the comics it's different. Yeah, I think it was a good addition. I think it helped the story flow pretty good.
It would have been obviously been better if it was Burton continuing and you had that.
Sure.
But because it's implied, at least back in the day, that this is somewhat the same universe.
Yeah,
It's like,
I mean, it's the same outfit.
right, they have the same outfits and the same Gordon, by
Yeah,
the
it's
way.
Same.
So, just the idea that Batman is his mentor and says, yeah, you can go down this path and kill Two-Face. You're not going to get satisfaction from it. And it does work well because he chooses to spare Two-Face and then he becomes captured punk and Batman has to save him.
Yeah.
You know, typical
This
stuff.
definitely isn't the same Batman because he'd be like, yeah, heck yeah, go kill him.
No, he'd be like, yeah, I did it and I liked it. And then I lit the devil on fire. No.
Well, no, doesn't Two-Face die? I can't remember.
He
throws
does
all
die.
those coins up in the air.
Yeah, Batman basically kills him because he tricks him and when he flips his coin. He's like, I'm going to kill one of you guys. He's like, oh, okay, go ahead. Like, flip it back.
And Batman
throws all
throws
these
like
coins.
20
He's like,
coins.
wait.
Then
And he falls and dies.
Oh. What was that?
This wasn't, I'm going to kill you. This is,
Yeah.
oh, you haven't fallen here now.
Yeah, whoops. Sorry about
Sure,
that. You know, for
sure.
silver,
He's
you
sleepy.
Here's your 20 pieces of silver, Judas, you know.
Just rest.
Yeah.
He's
They're not dead. They're sleeping.
Um,
Two-Face is frolicking in the fields with Captain America.
oh. Yeah, there was a good scene I liked where Chase gets over Batman and she wants to be with Wayne and it's less, uncomfortable and a little bit more romantic, I guess. But she's just talking to him because she's a psychologist. And she's talking about his parents and all that. Shows him at the viewing where his parents are in the coffins.
Yeah.
That stuff I was like, it's really good. And there's a great deleted scene where they literally made this giant man bat thing. It was a puppet, an animatronic.
Yeah.
And he would basically look at it and had red eyes. Kind of cool.
I do wish they had kept that in there, not just because that's a very memorable thing that
Yeah.
You would never see in the Nolan movies, you would never see in the Affleck movies, and I don't think we'll see in the Reeves movies. This is like one off if you got to do that, but I mean, this is a movie where Bruce Wayne is dating a psychologist.
Yeah.
Take the opportunity to delve into his psyche, kind of look at him. He's a weirdo, but he's damaged. Look at why he's driven to do these heroic things, but also why he's not the straight-laced, shining armor knight on a white horse, and a dream where he's literally confronted with a man bat. I mean, we're never going to see man bat on the screen, but in addition to just being a nice reference, this is him grappling with his shadow, with this dark side of himself, which I guess technically is in the film itself, just those ideas, but
Yeah.
barely explored.
Yeah. They have the bat as a continuing, recurring thing that happens in the film is you see a bat just flapping, which is pretty cool, and all that stuff is really good, which makes you wonder how you got from, okay, that was the most lukewarm Batman film I've ever seen, to the absolute worst Batman film.
Oh, before we get to that, yay or nay on Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face?
No.
Not in his conduct.
I will
off
say,
stage.
on paper, if I was told Tommy Lee Jones is going to be playing Two-Face, I think that's really good casting. He's an incredible actor, and it's great. He's a Harvard-educated actor. You don't see a whole lot of Harvard-educated actors. So very intelligent, very talented, but given terrible direction. Like, I think Schumacher is a great storyteller when he's telling the right story. I love The Lost Boys. He was not the right fit for this, and he was not the right fit for this iteration of Two-Face. Tommy Lee Jones took this job because his son loves Batman, but he got to the job as like, I have all this paint on my face, and this isn't really about the character. This is about being a cartoon. I don't like this. I'm not interested in this. So he hated every moment, and it was a bad performance.
Yeah.
I
If it was like a modern movie where you put CGI space like they did in Dark Knight, and you gave him a director who's more interested in the character, I think Tommy Lee Jones is a great choice. So we didn't have those.
That's fair. I kind of wish they kept the Lando guy. He was Harvey Dent in first Timber Batman, which I think. Did they do the comic where he's? There's I think
transitioning
Batman.
to Two.
That's what
He is in the comic where he's transitioning towards Two-Face. It's interesting because he's dating Gordon's daughter in the comic, and you know he got the coin from his childhood growing up sort of in the black slums of Gotham, and they have him juxtaposed with a black Robin as well. So they did some clever ways to incorporate the black community into the comics through the '89 years, which I thought was interesting. And they're doing some really cool stuff with it, but we'll never see it on the screen.
That's cool. Maybe we'll see it in this Flash movie. Maybe we'll see old Two-Face.
You were saying something, Robert? About
Oh,
Two-Face?
yeah, I was gonna say I can see Tommy Lee Jones, being more of a Gordon character.
Yeah,
Then-
that would be fun.
Because he's kind of got that grumpy look, just like, ugh, I'm tired of dealing with a man in a suit and all these weirdos on the street.
When was
So-
the last time you saw Tommy Lee Jones not be rough in a movie, right?
Right? So that's why I think, he'd be a great older version of
Yeah,
Commissioner
Batman
Gordon.
Forever.
this
Well-
is going to last for how long?
The thing with him in Batman Forever is that they went with the cartoon side. Because I've seen Schumacher direct him in The Client, where he plays a relentless DA
Yes,
who's trying to get this
yes.
kid to talk, but the kid won't talk because he's scared. So if they played more on the classic tropes of Two-Face, it would have been fine. It's kind of like my problem with Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. It's too goofy.
We're trying to make him the Joker.
Right, and same thing with Two-Face here. It's the same problems. You've made him too goofy. You don't have. This is not who Two-Face is. He's not a goofy guy. He's a mobster who's got split personality. And he's very good at what he does. That's scary. So the only reason I don't approve of him, because I'm actually okay with it.
I was going to say, a hot take for me. I actually like it.
I don't say.
I know what he's going for.
Yeah.
And I like it.
I want to say that I like it. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
What I'm not okay with is allegedly behind the scenes he was terrible to Jim Carrey.
Right.
He would bully him, and Schumacher's like, stop, just leave him alone. Like according to Jim Carrey, when they first met, he hugged him. He said, "I really don't like you. So I really don't like your work." And he's like,
I won't
"Oh,
say
okay."
in his defense, because I think that is indefensible, but just he sees this as a craft. He's an artist. He's
Right.
a thespian. I mean, he's a Texan thespian, but he is still a man who takes his work seriously. And Jim Carrey is the definition of not serious.
Yes.
Oh
Well-
no, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
but you wouldn't tell that from the performance, because whenever they're together, they're both equally
Yeah.
screwy and messing around. It's like, really, you're this major thespian. You're so
Yeah.
great. And it's like, you're both acting like buffoons. He's
Yeah.
just better at it than you.
He knows
so-
he's a buffoon and he loves it.
Yeah,
Yes.
and
He's a natural.
He's a court jester, and we always need a court jester, and he's very good at it. So just quit hating on him.
So I do like Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face, just because it is cartoony, and because I find it interesting that even though he hates it, it's almost like what's his name, Tim Curry. He still gives off a
Still
really great
commits.
performance. Exactly, he commits to it. Even though he thinks it's stupid, and as a kid and even just a young teenager, I was like, this is not as good as the previous films. But that said, it was still pretty fun.
I don't know. I guess all I remember from that movie, because it's been a long time since I've seen it. I remember liking Robin in it. I remember thinking, "Oh, Robin, he's not that bad. He's not that."
It's not
Yeah.
green tights.
I remember the villains were not as fleshed out as I thought the past two villains were, and like literally when Amazing Spider-Man 2 came out, and Electro his backstory, I was like, oh my gosh, he's the Riddler.
Yeah.
Like that's
Same story.
so I remembered the Riddler.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, and I didn't like Electro's story either.
Yeah.
And they did it so. Yeah, I just remember not liking this movie as much as the first two.
Yeah, that's fair. I will say, for Robin is such a hard character to do in live action. It kind of works in comic books because you can have a living man made of clay. Batman's totally okay with killing because he can't die. Robin is the teenage sidekick who wears bright colors, who's totally going to get shot to death, and yet Batman brings this young child onto as many crime scenes as he can. It doesn't really work conceptually unless Batman is this crazy person who is not always the most rational. And this movie, it fixes a few of those things by aging him up. He's not a 12-year-old, but he's also kind of doing his own thing. And Batman's like, okay, I'm going to help you do this so that you don't get yourself killed.
I think-
I've seen other iterations of the comics where they're Elseworld, where he's doing it completely by himself. He doesn't know Batman's Bruce Wayne, and he busts up some drug dealers and things like that. And Batman sees him do it and has to save him. But he's like, "Hey, yeah, I do a good job." Looks at him, and he just leaves. And I'm okay with that type of iteration as well.
Robert?
Yeah, so out of curiosity, is there a specific Robin that you think would be able to be played as a kid?
I was gonna sort of touch on this. I was gonna say the best live action version of Robin we've had isn't Robin at all, but it's Bucky. And it's exactly what you should do with the character, because Bucky's supposed to be a kid just like Robin.
In the
He worked
comics,
in the comics. The Ultimate Comics, they made him an adult, and it's a totally different story there. But in the MCU, make him Steve Rogers' childhood best friend, same age as him, and then they put him in that dark place immediately in the next film, which I feel like is kind of the best thing you can do with Robin. Is you age him up so that he's not as bored, he's more of a partner, more towards an equal. Then the next film, you don't keep the same Robin around. You age him up to okay, now he's 9. Okay, now he's the Red Hood. Okay, now he's Red Robin.
I think Robin could work as a child in film. For one, you'd have to handle it very carefully. You'd have to greatest screenwriter, greatest director. I think would work better if it's Damian Wayne, because on the one hand, he's trained since birth to be the greatest killer ever. But the kid is also insane. If Batman were not there, he probably would still be wearing bright yellow colors so he can go around killing as many people as he can. He wants them to see him coming. And then Batman's there to kind of hold him back, saying, "Oh boy, no, we're gonna be smart about this. We're not going to go around killing."
Yeah, he just kind of married the two ideas. It was, much like Batman Begins, there's the League of Shadows, right? If he was training alongside Bruce around the same time, but 3 years younger,
Sure.
I think that'd be a good way to do potentially a Robin as well.
That would be
Then that way he could still be pretty young, maybe 15, 16, 17. And then he could also have that training that he experienced just from that young age with Damien. I think that could be a happy way to marry the two.
And I would also say, kind of like in Shang-Chi, you know how you see him as a young kid and then he's working his martial arts? Start kind of like that with Damian, and then when he finally gets over to Batman, he's in his teenage years.
I think I agree with all of you, Jack, who initially came up with the idea. And while Damien is far from my favorite, he's open to interpretation. Thank goodness. So you can take those things that are a little bit obnoxious about him, and you can either use them to benefit the character growth, or do something with it, or ignore it entirely.
right.
Which is the benefit of him, and having him be his biological son is pretty helpful when you've already got a lot of accusations against
Right, you have the greatest genes from both father and mother, so you can kind of say, okay, of course this kid is going to be some genetic freak.
And it's not a weird thing. It's not a creepy pedophilia thing. Because it's his actual son. So
Yeah, you're not saying
you're not going to hear those jokes.
Yeah, Batman and Robin don't share a bed. This is not those weird comic strips you see every once in a while.
Now, to go back to your original question, Robert, my favorite, who I would like to Barry Kelly from Dark Knight's Returns.
Yeah.
And that's just because I find that just his motivations of returning as Batman and to have her volunteer herself to be his Robin, because he does need a Robin. That's how it's established.
That iteration, yeah.
That iteration. And she doesn't have a good home life, so her surrendering herself to help for the better good, especially this decrepit Gotham. I think it's a really cool story, and I think that's my favorite Robin. But it's gonna be a while.
She's a little easier to buy because she's more of a tech-based Robin instead of like, I'm going to lead the charge and beat up all these people with guns.
Yeah.
It's I'm inside the Batmobile shooting people because I'm a teenage girl.
Exactly, or the Bat helicopter,
Or whatever it is. Yeah.
She's competent enough in gymnastics that she could overload against the fat
Yeah,
brother.
Yeah.
While Batman's doing the fighting, she's
The
sneaking
real
around, plugging in things and all
Yeah,
that
she's
stuff.
not on the front lines all the
No.
time.
Which
She's
honestly,
climbing on top of a roller coaster, getting a bomb.
Yeah, exactly. Which honestly, that's still dangerous.
Yeah.
But it's not as
It's not as
dangerous.
negligent of Batman.
Exactly, because you have all these Robins. I mean, that's the whole reason he quits in that comic of being Batman, is because Jason gets killed by Joker. So
I think.
I think that's another way you could do Robin conceptually, is to show this is a stupid idea that got Robin killed.
exactly.
Yeah, I think if I was to answer that question from Robert, it's just I would choose. I kind of like the Robins that are more messed up in the head, because I don't believe that somebody could spend all their nights fighting crime with Batman would be all there. You hear Dick complain about Batman, like, oh, he's heartless, he doesn't care about me.
But
It's all about the
still ends
job.
up pretty well adjusted.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't believe that Dick wouldn't be messed up in the head too. Because he kind of went through the same thing Batman did, losing his parents. But Jason, he's messed up. Damian's messed up. So I think it'd be kind of cool if they made him older, like Stefan said, and if they made him messed up in the head a little bit. Like, and they think they're normal and Batman's intense and crazy and over the top. But then you learn throughout the story, and Batman might just tell them to their face, hey, there's a reason we work together. There's a reason,
I chose you.
I chose you and you accepted me,
Yeah.
I think that'd be cool.
Let's move on to Batman and Robin. I will say, if you want a good,
I gotta throw this out there real
Yeah.
quick. We got about 3 minutes before we hit 8 o'clock, and we'll be going for an hour. So on the bright
Okay.
side, Batman and Robin will be pretty quick.
I will say, on paper, I think Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy and Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze are great casting. She's sexy and smart and a great actress, very intimidating. He's the Terminator. He's cold. He's efficient. He's scary.
Stop it. He's cold.
Hey, no, that fits with the movie, man.
Play into any of their strengths. Arnold kind of knows what movie it is and is having a ball with it. Cool party. Nice to meet you.
No,
But it's a joke.
he took advantage of the whole thing because he's supposed to shave his head. He's like, oh yeah, I will shave my head for this film. And then later, I don't want to shave my head. And they put a bald cap that was super expensive.
Not look great.
No, and then George Clooney gets pulled out of nowhere to replace Val Kilmer. I have no idea why.
I think Kilmer was being a diva.
Oh, well, maybe. But Chris O'Donnell is back as Robin, and I just want to say, well, at least in Batman Forever, I didn't dislike him as Robin. Generally speaking, I love his delivery of Holy Rusted Metal Batman. That was a really good joke.
Oh, there's rusted holes all over.
Yeah. That was. He's like, huh? And there's like, oh, good joke. But then in Batman and Robin, he's just a whiner for the whole film. Nobody likes him.
I think I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When Batman turns off his motorcycle at the beginning of the movie, and he's like,
Come on, man! Ah! He's like screaming at Batman. Ah!
because
And
Batman wouldn't let him go
He
off the
gets
ramp.
his stupid butt frozen at the very beginning, and then Batman thaws him out. And he's like, "Did we get up?" And he's like, "I've been saving your frozen butt for the past 5 minutes. He got away." And then Mr. Freeze steals diamonds so that he can power his suit, which just shoots ice.
Freeze, God.
Yeah.
You know how the dinosaurs died? From the Ice Age.
and then you got Poison Ivy, who's like, I'm gonna turn the whole world into a jungle, and he's like, I know, I'm gonna turn it to ice. We have so much in common. It's just like,
We have so
let's
much
work
in common.
together. It's so stupid. Like, oh my word, we laugh because it's so bad. It's good. Like
Yeah,
it's
we laughed because it would hurt too much to cry.
it's
Yeah,
right,
it's true.
but it's so funny, unintentionally funny. This is what
I'm
happens.
looking at all these pictures.
Yeah.
Okay, which one? Which one should I grab? Should I grab the one with him in a robe?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Do the one where he's looking at this crystal in his
and
tie.
he's conducting his goons and singing "Mr. White Christmas" for some reason.
Yeah.
And they
So
suck because they're all shivering and frozen with their frozen meals, and he's like, "Oh, you guys are helpless."
And then they tried to pull at the heartstrings by saying, Alfred has died.
Yes.
He's sick.
And
And something.
Oh, I have to
Yeah.
mention this before we go on. I had a companion on my mission who's like, "How did Alfred know the measurements of his niece?" Because Batgirl's in this.
Yeah,
She's Alfred's niece.
It's a wonderful British accent.
Right, and it's like, how did she get her measurements? While she was asleep, he drug her and was like, all right, let's see, chest size, righto, and it's just,
That was a very form-fitting suit.
Yeah, it was
Every
super-
inch drawn.
Oh
and,
bollocks!
then- and him just being like the stupid Alfred computer, intruder alert, intruder, Uncle Alfred, it's me. Oh, I'm so glad you came. I have a suit all ready for. How did you get the suit? Oh my word!
She does nothing, by the way. She rides on like some snow machine, like the rest of them, and then she gets captured.
Well, she kicks. Oh, we haven't even gotten to Bane.
Yeah,
Oh, I forgot about
Bane's
Bane.
in this movie.
Bane's in
She
this movie.
she
Terrible.
she
Terrible.
kicks. She beats Poison Ivy because she's the only one unwilling to kiss her
Oh,
or
that's
be
right.
seduced by her.
Literally, that's
And
a
then
plot
she and Robin beat Bane by kicking the pipes out of his head,
That's right.
and that's it.
Well, like that is his weakness, but that's pretty minimal for
Yeah.
what she does.
No,
All right, you guys, are you guys able to see the stream? Like, are you watching the stream at all?
Yeah, I'm watching.
Okay, here is the picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger without the suit, with just holding a diamond.
yeah.
That's stupid diamond. It looks-
It will power my suit. All this ice will make ice.
it's so
It's
dumb.
like he's. It turns out it's crystal meth, and it's making. All this ice will make ice, so I can get some more ice.
Let's see if I can
Say
find another
props to
picture.
them for going with the Mr. Freeze backstory from the animated show.
Yes.
Because that backstory, only a few years old, but even then they knew we have to do this. We have to get this right at least. And I mean, they didn't get it right in terms of execution or tone or anything like that. But the story was there, so I appreciate that.
The props to Arnold Schwarzenegger for basically putting glow stick gel in his mouth so that his tongue would glow.
Yeah, or his teeth.
It's so bad for you. They found out later it's toxic. But
I will say this.
Oh, maybe that's where he got the whole issue with the maid.
yeah,
I
You,
would
me,
appreciate
now.
more movies in the future. Not every movie has to do this, but I think especially comic book movies will benefit. Just the ending where we all, in a straight line, run towards the camera. It's not something that's in the film necessarily, like in the plot, the story of the film. This is just iconography for the sake of iconography.
Yeah.
I would appreciate more movies doing that. Kind of like in Zorro movies, when Zorro will slash at the camera and leave a sea and fire across the camera. Is he actually doing that in the movie? No. This is for the audience's sake. I would appreciate more movies doing that. And Schumacher, while he mishandled this material, he did understand that Batman has iconography that goes along with it, and he tried to communicate that through film.
that's definitely
I don't know if there's much else to say about this.
No, I don't remember.
Very
true.
qualities.
If you want
So-
a good laugh, it's just like Batman the movie, the '60s one.
Yeah,
If you want to laugh, both those movies are great.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Don't take them.
the thing with Mr. Freeze though in the animated series, he does make those ice puns,
Yes, it does.
But they take the
But
character
it's-
seriously.
but it's cool. His voice is cooler.
Yeah,
is,
it's just cool, frozen, robotic voice.
Yeah,
Like,
when he does his puns, it's like he's being sinister. Like he has a dark sense of humor. Whereas, freaking Schwarzenegger's is just a goofy goofer ball.
Yeah.
For
You
the
know.
heck of being
But,
Yeah.
which is in part on the direction of Schumacher,
Right.
obviously.
Yeah.
Because we know he can play the cold-blooded killer, with imagine that similar type of voice, just robotic coming from it. It probably would have sounded really cool. But they didn't go with that.
It's the same problem with Star Wars where, you know that this is very sellable and sell toys and posters. The difference is George Lucas is like clumsy, whereas this was just stupid, like
Straight up.
full on stupid.
Because
There
they
was
built
no
the
vision.
toys first.
And they based the
made
vehicles
sense.
and the
Like,
suits off of
Well,
it.
with Return of the Jedi, George Lucas was originally going to have them go to a planet of Wookiees. Then he decided teddy bears would be, better selling things, better toys than a bunch of Chewbacca's.
Cheaper
It's
too.
Chewbacca. It's cheaper. Kids are going to like them more. But that doesn't
They
change
don't
the
make
story.
giant furs.
Batman and Robin's story was dictated by the toys.
Yeah. So whenever George Lucas, whenever he messes up, I feel like it's being clumsy versus this is just full on like really dumb stuff. Like Batman and Robin literally taking their feet, clicking them together like they're going to Kansas, and then the skates pop out. It's like, how
There's no
did you
place
store
like
that?
Gotham. There's no
Yeah,
place like Gotham.
How did he know in advance? Oh yes, we need to bring our ice skate suits this time.
Yeah, because we know exactly what Freeze
Well-
is up to. He's stealing diamonds.
They're his
I mean,
bat suits.
You'd say yes, like his name
I
is
believe
Freeze, but that's not a supervillain name. His name is Victor Freeze.
Right. It's sort of like Otto Octavius.
Like, what are the odds?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's dumb.
So I guess there was still more to talk about this.
Yeah,
I don't have
yeah.
anything else left to say.
Uh,
We could
I'm
easily
good.
just trash it.
I'm glad the Lego Batman game at least put the villains together that were together.
Yes.
I don't know why. I just like that.
It was
It's
fun.
like, let's get Poison Ivy and Freebie and
Freeze.
Mr. Freeze.
And Catwoman and Penguin together, and Joker,
That's like
Scarecrow. That didn't.
We seriously should come up with a series for Stefan Rants.
Oh my.
And it would be perfect for movies like this, just where you can just go out.
It's a movie so bad it almost killed off comic book movies, and it
Yeah.
did kill off Batman from the big screen for the next 8 years.
Yeah.
And when he came back, it had to be such a course correction that this was the only way
It's
the
only 8
audiences
years.
were going to bite.
Yeah, it's 97 to 2005.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was born for Batman Forever. You were born
For
for
Batman.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, I think that's about it, right?
So yeah, next
Very
time
much.
we will be talking about what
Nolan.
came after that 8-year hiatus. We're going to delve into the Nolan era of Batman, how it corrected a lot, was an overcorrection. What are the things we like about it? What are some things that we are maybe glad we're left behind from that era? And oh my gosh, how it dominated superhero movies and movies in general for the next few years. So yeah, we'll be delving into that. Anything else that anyone wants to say before we sign off?
Bat nipples.
So,
Tell us what you think the Robin should be for these
Yes.
future films.
yeah,
There's our
curious to see
comment.
How he'll work, how he would potentially work with Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or if they do flashbacks for Affleck. Or
And
for Keaton.
Yeah.
Because he has a Robin now, at least in the comics. But we'll see about that.
Brendan, what is it you want to say?
He was just very
Nothing,
excited by more potential Affleck.
That'd be.
That doesn't even look like you're looking down at me.
I am looking down at you. We got 3 Spider-Man last year. I'm totally cool with 3 Batman this year.
Yeah. Well, like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, @ofcinematics.
Follow us
And-
on Twitter and tell your friends. Tune in next week as we talk about Batman again.
Again, and this is Batman month, so I'm not changing anything on our outro
Lots
or
of rubber,
intro.
lots of latex, and lots of
Catwoman. What?
ribbon and brooding.
Yes.
Anyways. All right. Bye, guys. See you next week.
See ya.